Woo! Yeah, I got to do it right after the show. I got to do a TV commercial after the show, and they said they prefer that I don't. I'm playing the role of a sportscaster. Imagine that. So to be user friendly, in hopes of getting more work down the line, I'm going with what they prefer. Yeah, it'll grow back by October. That's funny. Yeah, it typically takes about a week to look credible. Pendejo, Foam Foot, 420, Hector Gomez, Havens 84. What is up on Twitch? We got a Twitch person in here. Havens 84, welcome. Sammy Garcia, Bernard Trefan. Yeah, Chris Beard stole my beard. That's good, Bernard. I'll go with that. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
It's Wednesday. You made it. And we got a viewer on Twitch. That's how big time we are. We're not only Facebook Live and YouTube, Twitch. Our Twitch viewer this morning is Havens84, spelled kind of sort of like that. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. All kinds of stuff going on. Spurs going for 3 in a row tonight. Astros lost last night. How many in a row was that? I'm going to have to look it up. The accusers of Deshaun Watson are all going to make their names public. Lots going on. Shannon Salty Sweeney, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. The show kind of snuck up on me here. The time just flew by. I was still taking notes this morning.
Isn't it weird when that happens? You know, you get into your routine and typically, and I'm such a freak. I've got multiple alarms on my phone. There's like one at 4 a.m., one at 4:05, one at 4, just to remind me. And the last one's at 5:50, which is to remind me, dude, if you're not like
in real this time.
Yeah, you're not, because it's not going to ring during the show. So yeah, but occasionally, like you, it's like, no, it can't be 6 o'clock already, is it? And yes, it is. So there's that.
Life comes at you fast.
Life comes at you fast.
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
World of sports.
And it's not all good.
No.
The Deshaun Watson story won't go away. There's that.
No, it will not.
Yeah. The Astros lose. I don't like that. Another
season left.
Yeah, true. I know. I need to
1,000 games.
I shouldn't panic yet. I think it is, yeah, right around 1,000 games left in the baseball season. Yeah. We'll get into first it was Luka Doncic saying the play-in tournament is ridiculous. Now Mark Cuban, another of your beloved Dallas Maverick
Are we surprised?
people. No. See, I would have thought, well, I mean, players, I can understand them not digging it. And I think from Luka Doncic's perspective, what he said was, if you earn the 7 seed or the 8 seed, and then, these teams that otherwise wouldn't even be in can come and knock you out right away after you've played 72 games to earn your position. So he has a point, but I'm from the Mark Cuban ownership perspective, I would think that he would get what you and I have talked about is it's more basketball. It's more playoff basketball, and that's going to mean ratings. That's going to mean advertising. That's going to mean more Charles Barkley and TNT.
Right.
So that's all good stuff from my perspective.
Coming from the businessman, I'm curious how he views it not being great for him.
Yeah, he had some other idea. What did he say? He said, I got it here somewhere. Cuban said, I get why the NBA is doing it, but if we are going to be creative because of COVID, we should go straight up 1 through 20 and let the bottom 4 play in. This is the year particularly to do it, since the 10 games cut from the normal 82 game schedule were in conference. So,
So he's basically saying if you deserve to be in, then you're in. And if you're on the bubble, we'll play in like they do for March Madness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've always kind of believed in, I wish the NBA would just seed 1 through 16. Your normal thing is eight teams in the Eastern Conference, 8 teams in the Western Conference. And for so many years, your 2 best teams were in the West. For a lot of years, it was the Spurs and the Lakers. I think the year the Mavericks knocked out the Spurs, I think it was, no, that's when LeBron was over in the East, I think, or was he? But anyway, if the 2 best teams are in one conference, why can't we have Lakers versus Clippers in the finals if those are the 2 best teams, or if the Warriors, if the Warriors come back to full strength and why can't we have Lakers Warriors in the finals? I wish and I know there's been talk about it, but I wish the NBA would do that.
Yeah. And you mentioned Lakers versus Clippers. I think at the moment they're projected to meet in the first round.
I know, it's crazy.
Which is still an entertaining matchup. And, I think last year we really wanted to see them in the Western Conference Finals because, prior to everything getting pushed to the bubble for COVID, it's LA versus LA on LA crime.
Yeah.
Who's getting home court advantage tonight? Don't know if that exists when you have LA versus LA.
Yeah.
In a playoff environment.
Yeah, so maybe I should be saying this. Yeah, if we can have the Utah Jazz versus Phoenix Suns final, why shouldn't we have that? If you believe in the Western Conference seeding as a reflection of who's going to win the damn thing.
Not to make light of an injury, because we never want to do that, but Denver Nuggets lose a pretty key aspect yesterday to an ACL injury just after they get a 2-0 sweep over the Spurs.
Yeah, then that's, next to Nikola Jokic, he's huge for them. I just saw what you put up on the screen on Facebook Live.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Carl Fisher. He's been waiting for his baby girl, and she was born yesterday afternoon, so congratulations. I'm glad you're still making time for us.
And he's in here watching the show on Facebook Live.
Get them while they're young,
As a new daddy. Congratulations, Carl Fisher. That is cool. We like to celebrate when our listeners / viewers, participants in the show, have a big, cool life event, and that doesn't get much bigger than that. Woo! Woo, woo, woo!
Now, sir, you look different today.
I know.
We have to address it.
I know. If you wonder why I usually wear a beard, today you find I don't even look normal.
I was barely prepared for the show this morning.
Yeah.
I look up, it's showtime,
and
then I look up and see your face, and I see all of it.
Who's this freak? I'm doing a TV commercial, and it's a company I've done TV commercials before in San Antonio. This isn't for them. It's called Apple Productions, and they typically do the Ancira commercials, which is a car dealership in San Antonio. And I've done a lot of Ancira Volkswagen commercials over the years. And in those commercials, Shannon, you'll be shocked, I am cast as the dork. I'm this dorky, a dorky car salesman. And I don't know why they do. It's like, really? This is going to get people to come and buy more Ancira Volkswagens? Okay, that's fine. But they do it. And I've done that off and on for, over a decade. So it's the same production company. And in the Ancira commercials, I shave my beard. Throughout COVID, they've not shot a lot of commercials, so it's been a long time. But this is apparently this is a different commercial for what they say is an out-of-town client, and I am playing the role of a sportscaster. Shocker! Woo!
Great casting.
So yeah, see, I'm very tight. Let's see. He is a dork, so we'll cast him as the dork. Oh, he does sports on there. All right, we'll cast him as a sportscaster. So anyway, I said, so hey, I've got a beard. You want me to shave the beard for the commercial? They go, well, we would prefer it.
Oh, so it's your fault.
Yeah. So it's like, and again, and you
look lovely.
Thank you.
It'd be like me it's kind of like me wearing my hair down. It doesn't happen a lot. So when it moves mountains
Yeah, I saw that the other day on Facebook. I meant to mention that your hair was down on Facebook Live. It was.
What?
Yeah, maybe it was after the show when we had a meeting or so. It was down, and I went, "Whoa, she actually has very, very long hair." So yeah, I did see that.
Was it like this?
It was I
Flip of
yeah. So that normally we don't see that.
Pony flip.
Pony flip. See, but from my perspective, it looked like it was like all the way down from my perspective. So
it is getting a little long.
Yeah. So my point is, I could have, and even on the Ancira commercials, they have said to me as well, and April Ancira is one of the Ancira family, and I know April and April said, yeah, if you want to wear your beard, Chris, and the commercials wear the beard, but the director of the commercials prefers I don't, and the advertising company prefers I don't. So as you know, I try to be user friendly.
Yes.
And I've noticed, like in the workplace, the more user friendly you are, the more employed you can be.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like
always
all right.
Be a 5-tool player.
Yeah, so there's that. So yeah, I am sadly clean shaven, and if you think I have a face for radio with the beard, I really, really have a face for radio without the beard. It should be back by midweek. It takes me about a week. So it should be back next week.
I mean, I know we use StreamYard to stream our show to both Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch now.
Twitch!
You mentioned earlier, but, so many things have filters. I wonder if you could maybe go in and get a beautiful.
Ooh, I like that. Like, yes. I'm like either that or I'll just go buy one at a costume store and get a Santa beard or something. Yeah, there you go. Sharpie. That'll be it. All right, we're going to do this at 6:20 and 7:20. In fact, we do it 12 times throughout the day. This contest that you can win $1,000. Now, listen closely because it has changed a little bit. It's still very easy. We used to have you text a keyword. Now you go to the website and you enter the keyword at the website. So if you're listening at AM 1300 The Zone, go to that one. If you're listening on Ticket 760, go to that website, and that's where you enter the keyword. So it's a little different, but it's still really easy. And somebody wins $1,000. It may as well be you. Here is the contest.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website, stock. That's stock. Enter it now.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, Shannon, you did mention at the outset, there's a lot of sports stories. I rattled off some Spurs, some Deshaun, some Astros in a big slump currently. Anything that you would like to present to us early that is on your radar?
Well, since we have Clint jumping in on our video feed saying the grumpy tech fan is reporting in, I'll just go ahead and pile on all that, because that's actually why I got so caught up in how late it was this morning, because there was so much happening in the basketball world yesterday. I mean, Texas just continues to take away from Texas Tech. Not only does Tech lose another player, Tyrone Smith, to the portal, but they also lose their strength and conditioning coach, John Riley, who has decided that he will follow Chris Beard to the 40 acres and become the Texas strength and conditioning coach. That came down yesterday afternoon. Texas also found out yesterday that Andrew Jones, legend status at this point for Texas, he will return. He's using that COVID year. It's, if it was made for anybody, it was made for Mr. Andrew Jones. They also secure a Kentucky transfer in Devin Askew and a Utah transfer, Timmy Allen, who was first team All Pac-12 this year.
Wow.
But for those, who are like, well, Texas. Well, Shaka did, he still has the gift of gab. He was able to flip a former Texas recruit of his to Marquette. So we did lose Amarion Ellis, but with that, we've got 3 players yesterday, 1 returning, 2 transfers. Chris Beard is off to a hot start at Texas.
Well, my gosh, the Utah player who was first team All Pac-12, you look at how the Pac-12 performed in the tournament, which was amazing.
Yes.
And, being a USC guy, I always pay attention to the Pac-12, certainly in the tournament. So it was the best Pac-12 overall performance in the tournament in recent memory, and even in distant memory. I'd have to go way back for a better, maybe even to the John Wooden era at UCLA for a better back then Pac-8 performance. But I'm going to have to do some research on that Utah player who's now a Texas Longhorn. It looks like Chris Beard, and we've talked about this, Shannon. The transfer portal is now such a big part of college basketball, and it sure sounds like Chris Beard already working it to land some big fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talked about Mac McClung, who also Texas Tech player who has not only entered the transfer portal for like what seems to be the millionth time, because that dude just loves to get recruited, but he's also testing the waters of the NBA, which you can't really do that in like for college football. Like you can get graded, but you can't really go through that full process in the way that you can with basketball. And I've always find that interesting, because not only are you kind of auditioning for the NBA, but you are in a way auditioning for wherever you end up going should you go back to school and you've put yourself in the transfer portal. Like, look at me, I'm an NBA prospect. Why would you want to come grab me from here?
Yeah, and I think if you have to test the water of the NBA and see if you are it almost the answer right away would be no. I mean, we pretty much know the one and dones, like a Zion Williamson, they've got that written all over them, while they're playing the college basketball season. Yeah, because if you I think if you're on the bubble, you play another year of college. I mean, get seasoned, because if you wind up not making the NBA club, or if you go to the G League, it's, unless, again, you're one of the best G League prospects, then, that can be a long haul, and you could find yourself playing somewhere in Europe when you could be playing, in McClung's case for either Texas Tech or wherever he might want to transfer to. We heard a lot about him last year. He made a lot of noise last year. Yeah. So it would make sense for him to.
Got a lot of daggers against Texas.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's not going back to Tech.
Yeah.
But and again, it's also almost like if you're entering the transfer portal and you are eligible for, the draft, why not do both at the same time?
True. Yes.
It's strange times where, and especially, last year with the G League now, they'll pay you handsomely to skip college.
Yeah. That's where it's going to be interesting to see how much. I know there were a number of players who did that this past year, notably one for UCLA, who that made UCLA think, okay, this is going to really damage our season. Then they wind up going to the Final Four as an 11 seed. We got a lot to talk about, everything from the NFL. The NFL draft 15 days away. It is 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that countdown clock continues and that draft gets closer. We'll talk NBA on and off the court, Major League Baseball, Astros in trouble. Not in trouble. When I say that these days, I need to clarify. In a slump on the field. Well, there you go. In trouble. There's no more current sanctions that we're aware of.
Now they're using recycle bins.
Yeah, exactly. Can we use recycle bins if we don't use trash cans? No, that's fun. That was funny. I like that. Quick break. I didn't even introduce Dave Ayler. I'll do that in the next segment. Well, and plus he's not wearing a heavy metal t-shirt. So he says he's going to save those for Metal Mondays. Metal t-shirt Mondays. All right, that'll work. Yeah. Quick break. Lots coming up. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. We'll do a $1,000 cash giveaway again at 7:20, which is beautiful. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs on a Spurs game day / game night. He'll join us just after 8 o'clock. We are with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Laura Burris, good morning. Steve Duraco, the original rock, the human element, THE rock, man's threat, woman's pet, the ultimate object of desire. What up, Steve Duraco, Wes Perkins, Clint Proctor, Hector Gomez, Ralph Balderas. Thank you, Ralph. The check's in the mail. Alan Green, Sam Tobias, Pendejo, Sammy Garcia. No, I said Garcia. That was wrong. Gatica. Either Gatica or Gatica. Sammy, welcome in. Havens 84 from Twitch. Bernard Trefan. Foamfoot 420. Welcome. and I'll really screw up this pronunciation, and forgive me. And you're not the first, you won't be the last. Davemilio, Castin with the Enye, I have the difficulty. Castanuela. It's the best I can do, which is not too good at 6:28 in the morning. Jeff McClanahan, good morning. All right. I need coffee. Badly. Woo! Woo! Caffeine, it's the wonder drug that works wonders. Caffeine, because management frowns upon crystal meth. Mask on.
Morning, everyone. Clint, what do we say? The Texas versus Texas Tech series for baseball is April 30th, I believe. Both teams looking good right now.
Axel J. Miller, welcome in.
Hector, that's a great question. So I don't know. But it is hard to come
Thank
by.
you, Ralph. One of the few pronunciations I get right. Axel J. Miller, 35 degrees in Denver this morning. My God. Thank you, Steve Duraco. The check is in the mail. All right. Jared Taylor, good morning. Jared Taylor joining us on YouTube. Luisa Alanis, welcome in. Wow, Hector, that's a great question. Was Tim Duncan the last major college basketball star to finish all 4 years of college? I think off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that question, Hector, but it's a tremendous question that would require some research. I think we'd get into the gray area of who was a star. Obviously, Tim as a number one overall. I think I can say with confidence he was the last number one overall NBA draft pick to have gone all 4 years to college. And by all accounts, he would have been one overall had he left as a junior from Wake Forest. And again, that he said at the time he had a commitment to playing all 4 years at Wake Forest. In fact, I think he made that promise to his mom. I'm remembering that, who had passed away. I think I'm remembering that. Man, if you're the Nuggets, you went to the Western Conference Finals last year. You've got a very good team. You got a shot in a year where the Lakers are injured and the Clippers are not playing to full potential. If you're the Nuggets, you got to believe you got a shot. And then Jamal Murray gone for the rest of the year. Here we go. Yeah. Eric Clapton, Cocaine. Chris Duel Show. I think I tell this story every time I hear this song. Shannon and Dave. The LA Dodgers had a pitcher named Steve Howe who was suspended for a year. He had a cocaine problem, a chronic cocaine problem. So they're playing the San Francisco Giants in San Francisco. And Tommy Lasorda of the Dodgers makes a pitching change, and he decides to bring in Steve Howe from the bullpen, and it's one of the first games where Steve Howe is back after a 1-year suspension for cocaine use. And the San Francisco PA system, whoever was in charge of music, plays Cocaine, that song, as Steve Howe is walking from the bullpen to the pitcher's mound. Dodgers were outraged. They filed a protest, a grievance against the San Francisco Giants, I guess, entertainment, AV, PA people. I think it was very funny. Oh, God, yes. This was like 81 or 82. Yeah. The NBA, apparently in the 80s had like a major cocaine problem. In fact, you watch that Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and I think that was even part of the issue when he was a rookie in preseason. They're on the road, and he goes into a motel room, and all the players are in there doing lines of coke, and he's a rookie, and he walked right out. Said, see y'all later.
It was the 80s. Everybody was doing nose candy then.
But the poor wives of those.
Oh, yeah.
While they're watching that.
Yeah, and can you? And you're one of those players, and you're with your kids or your I guess it would be grandkids by now, maybe. I don't know.
They're like, I do not recall. She's like, I bet you don't. I bet you don't recall.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to bring this up, and I'm sure he wasn't doing it, but I do believe when Jordan was a rookie, I do believe the Iceman, George Gervin, was on that Chicago Bulls. I got to look it up, but I think the Iceman was on that roster. And I love the Iceman. Yeah, Shannon, I got it. And by the way, he spoke, but I didn't introduce him. I'm so rude. And it's now 6:40. What kind of a house party is this? And I don't introduce our guest of honor, soundscape stylist, Dave Ayler. Dave, how are you this morning?
Good. And
yes. Exactly. See, it took me a second to go. Okay, just he has boys. Because I knew
it's 6:40. We just told you what time it was.
He had a girl. His boys can still swim. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Thank you. Woo! Now
we're not ready for that. We're not talking about 69 until 7:40.
Now I have no children. Dave Ayler, you have no children. Is that correct? And Shannon, you have no children.
No, I have a
Look at that. A 3-person radio broadcast in 2021, and we are child free. Woo!
We're living the dream.
Yeah. No, I am not. No, I'm. Some people are born and they're excellent parents, and God love them. And obviously, if people didn't procreate, we would not survive as a species. So good on you. But I can't imagine what a child of mine would be like. I would totally screw that kid up. So I'm doing the world of public service.
I can barely take care of myself.
Exactly.
I tried to make HEB has these super delicious flatbreads that are dirt cheap, and they're so good. And I was so excited to eat it. And I realized, I guess I forgot how to work my oven, because not only did I set the temperature too high, I didn't start the timer. And I had a couple work phone calls yesterday evening, took those, and then realized, man, my pizza's taking a really long time, only to see it be turned into toast in the oven.
Oh, no.
What I should have gotten was one of those $300 Trevor Lawrence toasters, and maybe I would have come out better on the other side. That thing probably tells you, hey, it's ready. I know you didn't set a timer, but it's ready.
And a couple of things about the Trevor Lawrence toaster. And if you were listening yesterday, you heard the backstory. Trevor Lawrence, did they get married already? I know it's in April. Okay.
Yes, they married last Saturday.
So it's a big April for Trevor Lawrence. He went to the Masters. He hung out with Patrick Mahomes. He just got married, and he'll be the number 1 overall pick on April 29th. 2 weeks from tomorrow in the NFL draft. And as Shannon reported yesterday, he and his bride had this online, as couples do. So you want to get us a gift, you go online, there's a registry, and you want to get us so I guess it was Jacksonville Jaguar fans saw the $300 toaster. Mm-hmm. So there was a GoFundMe. They raised, they wanted the $300, wound up raising thousands of dollars by Jacksonville Jaguars fans. So they are giving the toaster and the rest of it to Trevor Lawrence so he can apply the surplus money to the charity of his choice, which is cool. But Shannon, you brought up a great point yesterday. If you're going to be a multi-millionaire, guaranteed, beginning on April 29th, and I know technically he won't sign the contract April 29th, but for all intents and purposes, if he wants credit, if Trevor Lawrence wanted to buy a house in Jacksonville, we can't extend credit to you. Well, yeah, you can. I'm Trevor Lawrence. I'm about to make a lot of millions of dollars. Do you then, with your bride-to-be, have an online registry and request that friends of yours buy you guys wedding gifts? I don't know.
Especially things like a $300 toaster. And also, there's so many players who keep their home-based residence either where they grew up or where their significant others from or even where they went to school. And then they kind of live part-time in a condo or apartment in the city where they play ball. And, most of that is for players who, aren't franchise quarterbacks, but even still, some of them still do it, or they have multiple homes. So, okay, which one you putting that toaster in, buddy?
So maybe he
Or I
needs
wonder if
two.
he asked for two, because on those registers you could say I would, 8 forks.
Yeah, we need it for my Jacksonville mansion and for the home mansion. Laura Burris on Facebook Live, and Laura is way cool. She works with and for the San Antonio Food Bank, which is one of the coolest places to work and be, especially these days. She says Trevor Lawrence and his new bride already have their own charity. That's kind of cool. If they've already created a foundation and a charity and they're that forward thinking. And Trevor Lawrence, Shannon, is also in the news. Dave Ayler with some of his incredible show prep. It's amazing to have like a producer. I haven't had a producer give me show prep in like 6 years. So it used to be in radio, you would have a producer and they'd help you produce the show. Now you're on your own. Now it's like, yeah, just do your thing. Just throw it out there. You're in charge. We don't have the budget for a producer. But in this, what this research that Dave Ayler has given me, apparently the Jacksonville Jaguars have already passed along the Urban Meyer playbook for the offense to Trevor Lawrence. So he's not been drafted yet. He apparently has the playbook in his possession. Is this legal under NFL rules? It's a little odd.
Or are they able to bend them because he's technically not in the NFL yet?
That's a great question.
It's very strange.
It does.
I mean, I thought they typically couldn't even if you get traded or something or sent to a team, you don't even get it until training camp.
Yeah, this was reported yesterday on the NFL Network.
I mean, it's a very Urban Meyer move, though. If it's legal or not.
Yeah, if you're a Jaguars fan, you like that. It's like the kid is already studying the plays.
Right. He's the first time NFL head coach. Oh, I didn't know all the rules.
That's true.
I'm still trying to figure out free agency.
Yeah, you've got that excuse.
It's not as easy as recruiting, because recruiting is much easier to do the illegal things and not get caught. Wow. That's not fair. That's cheating.
Going to be interesting. And again, I said this yesterday, and it's going to be must-see TV for me to watch Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars this year and Urban Meyer as coach, because you got to wonder, Jimmy Johnson came in, and I mean, it took a 1-15 season and a punch in the face the first year for the Cowboys and Jimmy Johnson. But obviously when they did that Herschel Walker trade and they got all those players, Jimmy Johnson was pretty successful relatively quickly with the Cowboys, goes on, wins 2 Super Bowls. I think they would have probably won 4 in a row had he and Jerry Jones not broken up. Going to be interesting because apparently the Jaguars have a lot of cap room and a lot of money to spend this year and in the next few years building that roster. I'm going to be fascinated to see if Urban Meyer with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback and whoever they can add to that roster are able to be successful relatively quickly and see if he can follow in the footsteps of Jimmy Johnson and get to a Super Bowl and win it and maybe get a couple.
Yeah, I'd hope that his staff that Urban has around him are a little more seasoned in the NFL than he is, because I'm just imagining an Urban Meyer playbook just being super large, almost like a Harry Potter book, and overly in depth. And sometimes it's just easier to keep things simple. Didn't the Cowboys, their new thing is, they kind of dialed back the defense to make it a little more simple going into this next season. After, they were just confused most of the time
Yeah.
last year, it turned out. So as a first-time head coach, you don't want to come in and think, oh, well, they're in the NFL. They're professionals. They understand, this, that, and the other. Like Patrick Mahomes, he's still learning to read defenses. I mean, he said after his first Super Bowl win, because I'm sure he'll get more, that he had just started learning how to read a defense prior to the snap, which is incredible because you think of what he could do without really knowing what the defense was doing and what he could do in the future as he continues to progress in that knowledge. So I just don't know that handing a kid who hasn't been in the NFL from a coach who's a first-time NFL coach a playbook and nothing else around it. I don't want, and you mentioned the cap space. I mean, you don't want him spending the money in areas that he probably shouldn't be if you're the Jaguars because he thinks that this player is going to be the next greatest thing when, you could spend much less and get a guy who will, give you the same production.
Well, and the other cool thing about Urban Meyer, that if he's able to parlay that knowledge, one of the big things for Jimmy Johnson was having come out of college at a very high level, he had been evaluating that talent that was in college when he made the leap from Miami to the pros. So for the next 4 years, as those players moved into a position to be drafted into the NFL, Jimmy Johnson knew who a lot of those players were, had recruited a lot of those players, and certainly paid attention to a lot of those players. Urban Meyer, not far removed from being a college football head coach at Ohio State, and B, subsequent to that and most recently, was on that Fox Sports college football panel with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and whoever that quarterback was from Notre Dame. I always forget that guy's Brady Quinn. So, I mean, Urban Meyer, you would think, has paid a lot of close attention to who is talented and up and coming in college football. So if he can parlay that knowledge, if they can draft well, get a couple of key free agents, and if Trevor Lawrence lives up to all of the hype and people who say they know football say he will, it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out.
Well, and to that point of Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn, I mean, he's also sitting there on a panel of guys who were thought to be the next greatest things of the NFL, and
True.
where they are now.
Yeah, true. And even Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush did not.
Too.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was all right.
His highlight of his NFL career was that he dated Kim Kardashian and became relevant as a saint. Relevant.
Well, and there is that most athletes, when you date a Kardashian, that is usually death.
I mean, that could probably have just been his downfall. Wasn't actually his athletic ability or mindset or any of that.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, that's fair these days.
Yeah. Speaking of NFL football, Brett Favre wants politics nowhere near sports. He says, I know when I turn on a game, I want to watch the game, not what's going on outside the game. He said, I think both sides, for the most part, want to see sports remain about sports and not about politics. At least that's my interpretation. Now, Brett Favre is a white dude from Kiln, Mississippi. One of the reasons politics is colliding with sports is the majority of athletes, certainly in the NBA, but also in the NFL. Major League Baseball is more multinational. You got more people coming from Latin American countries, but certainly in the NBA and the NFL, it is a reaction by African American players and white players who care to what's happening in our society with regard to police brutality and African Americans and racial injustice and violence. So I'm not so, and I like Brett Favre a lot, but when a white dude from Mississippi is wants politics out, it's like they're not shooting a lot of white dudes from Mississippi, Brett. Yeah. If it was happening to people close to you, you might have a different opinion.
This is coming from the mouth of the guy who, prior to Tampa opening up their stadium so families could come see their sons play in the NFL, some for the first time, Brett Favre was there with him and his extended family, maskless, just hanging out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Brett's kind of a good old boy, and that's part of his charm. And again, I like him. I've always liked him, but I don't. I think it's
like Brett Favre the player more than I like Brett Favre the retired old guy who doesn't think before he speaks.
Yeah, and speaking of which, and I tweeted out the video / audio. Greg Popovich, once again, in the aftermath of the most recent shooting just north of Minneapolis of a 20-year-old unarmed African-American man who had family in the car, and his mom was on the phone at the time when he was shot by a police officer who has since a 26-year veteran of the police force, and she has since retired, but the excuse was she thought it was her taser. All right. Anyway, Pop, as you can expect, was quite vocal, and there are people who want Pop to just shut up and coach. You know, I think we all should speak out when it's the time to speak out, so I support Pop on that. Quick break, sports update, and more. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Buenos dias, Jason Paniagua.
Dave, can you check the chat, please?
So I see the chat where you say you don't think I have you in queue.
No.
Let me take a look.
Like, is for
I do now, I think.
for Trevor and his wife.
All right. I may grab more coffee since I don't get a nap today. See, is this on mute? Maybe it's on mute. Maybe that's the issue.
You got me?
David Valles, welcome. Pendejo saying Brett Favre has a checkered past in regard to race. Does he? I'm not remembering any Brett Favre. And if you play the game of football or basketball and you're in a locker room or baseball because it's so multinational and multiple ethnicities, how can you be a racist? I don't get it. I'm not saying that Brett Favre is, but it seems like there's a suggestion there. I think he's insensitive and not seeing the big picture. Juan Vertiz says, do you all see the video of the shooting? I believe it was accidental. She thought it was her taser. Still, it just amazes me that a 26-year veteran and was one of the leaders in that police force can make that. And someone brought up the point, why are we so quick to even tase a 20-year-old who's being pulled over for a registration violation? You know, and even if a 20-year-old runs from cops, why are we so quick to either tase or shoot them down? It's just the philosophy behind the way, you know, an unarmed suspect who is, you know, they had to get the guy's car. If he ran away, they were gonna track him down. Do you even need to tase him? And if he's a white kid, are you going to consider tasing him? That's where you run into the racial question here. Brett Favre. Yeah, Juan, that is, you know, just one of the huge ironies about that most recent shooting near Minneapolis is it was like 10 miles away from where the Derek Chauvin trial is going on. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome into the 7 o'clock hour, midweek, Wednesday, April 14th. We're glad you're here with us. It's the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. Lots going on in the world of sports. And later this hour, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We'll also take a look at this day in sports history, sports birthdays as well. Coming up in a few minutes at 7:20, your chance once again to win $1,000. That's a beautiful thing. Coming up just after 8 o'clock, Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs on a Spurs game day/game night. Tonight, the San Antonio Spurs taking on the Toronto Raptors in Tampa, where Toronto is playing its games this season. Spurs going for 3 in a row. That would be a cool thing. So, and Shannon, as we mentioned, lots of not controversy, but people speaking out about the new NBA play-in format, where, if I understand it correctly, 9 and 10 play one game. How does this work? 9 and 10 play one game. 9 and 10 play one game, and then I think 7 and 8 play a game or a series, and whoever loses that would fall to 8, and then would have to play. I don't get it. It's complicated.
Which leads us to our poll question today.
Yes.
Asking, how should the NBA conduct the playoffs? 3 options today. Keep it the same, play-in tournament, or if you have a different scenario that you'd like to see play out, you're welcome to comment below and vote other. Currently, 63% saying keep it the same. 36% saying they like the play-in tournament. My guess is you're voting for that if you are one of these possible teams who's just, clawing for a chance to get into the playoffs at this point in the season. But I personally, I'd keep it the same. I know we're on a shorter season because of COVID, but it's only 10 games. Do we really need to go through changing the playoff structure for this year?
Yeah, I'm one of these guys. I believe more playoffs are good playoffs. So, and I don't think it's interesting what you just said. If you're one of these teams clawing to get in, and I guess you could, the Spurs at the moment are on the outside looking in. I think they're in the 9 slot right now. But, and I, if the Spurs were a number 1 overall seed, I think I'd still like the idea. When we get to the spring and it's NFL playoff time, and I hear TNT play that music, and I've got Charles Barkley and the panel at halftime and after the game. So, you get a little bit more of that with this play-in tournament. It keeps interest for those teams that are at 9 or 10 or even below that, 11 or 12, trying to get to 10. It creates a little more interest for those teams and about those teams for the rest of us who are just intrigued by who might get into the playoffs. I just, and I think, as we mentioned, Mark Cuban said, seed them from 1 through 20 because this was a 72-game season and it's a weird season, and expand the playoffs. I think, obviously, if you have a very, very good season, that's why I think there should maybe be buys for upper seeds. But yeah, I don't have a problem expanding the playoffs. I'm actually okay with that.
I think intrigue and interest are what the NBA is trying to accomplish and get more of here with something like this, because their numbers have been declining. I think the game a little bit has been declining. Interest of just the casual fan isn't nearly as high as I think it once was, especially compared to the excitement we get out of March Madness. You're almost fatigued afterwards, and then you're left with the NBA, where it's towards the end of the season and there are already teams who know where they stand in the playoff run, and so they're going to go ahead and start load managing players. You have, things like the Denver Nuggets, where these freak accidents happens. One of their best players gets taken out, and kind of the assumption is, okay, well, they're no longer really a threat as far as getting to play against them in the playoffs. And, you have a team like Brooklyn who just kind of seem like a shoo-in to at least make it to the championship round. So I think by doing this, the NBA is trying to, keep fans around whose teams have that chance because they are getting into the playoff for the playoff, but also keep it interesting for maybe people who either don't have any skin in the game or just feel like they want to watch some more sports when there aren't tons to go to at this point in the year.
Yeah, Shannon, you said at the beginning there, and I think the numbers would back you up, that the interest in the NBA has waned a little bit lately. Why do you think that is? I know, to some extent, I know that
a lot of people say politics.
Yeah.
That's not what gets me into it or out of it. I mean, we talk about look at the Spurs. Like they've been on one national broadcast all year.
Yeah.
Is that because the rest of the nation isn't interested in seeing what they have to offer? I mean, what are the decisions and how you're picking which games you end up broadcasting?
I think it's got to be, if you're the network, I think it's star power. Is LeBron playing? Right now, LeBron is probably the biggest draw. And if he's not, is Giannis playing? Is Kawhi playing? Is Luka Doncic playing? Is Steph Curry playing? I think that's, the Spurs, as you know, Shannon, even when they were winning championships, the networks and a lot of fans who weren't Spurs fans thought the Spurs were boring, thought they played a boring type of basketball. Tim Duncan wasn't flamboyant. Neither was Tony Parker. Yeah. I mean, Manu was always an interesting guy on and off the court. But so, now that there's no big three superstar, you look at the Spurs and, even DeMar DeRozan, the best player on that team, arguably at the moment, not a guy who necessarily is a television draw. So, I mean, I can kind of, and the Spurs themselves, they just play basketball. They've never sought extra respect or publicity or television views. But I think for the rest of the country, and if you're a network making a decision, do we book a Spurs game or do we book a game with Giannis going up against the Brooklyn Nets? I mean, I think you're going to choose star power every time.
Yeah, and I agree. And I almost look at the NFL and how they've kind of created these characters with the players, right? I mean, Baker Mayfield throughout the regular week, because obviously NFL, they only play once a week. He gets dragged through the media, mostly with Colin Cowherd, and then he turns up and it's like, what is his reaction going to be when he runs one in for a score? Or what is he going to say in the post-game presser in regards to maybe the backlash he's received throughout the week? Or, what happens if they lose? How is he going to spin it then? And then you have a guy like Tom Brady who just keeps getting older, but keeps getting wins under his belt. And so I think those storylines really help when it comes to the NFL. I don't see those in the NBA. Like, okay, Kevin Durant is in beef with Shannon Sharp this week. Well, guess what? He was in beef with someone else last week. It's at this point, it's getting old, right? Like, we don't have that villain and superhero kind of thing going on with the NBA. Yes, LeBron is a huge draw and everyone seems to love him, and he is obviously really great at basketball, but he doesn't get the juices flowing as much as, for me, because it's like, who are you matching him up against where you're excited to see that? There's no Kobe.
Yeah.
There's no Dwayne.
You're true. Juan on Facebook Live, Juan Vertiz says, I lost interest when the Golden State Warriors added Kevin Durant. I think that's part, for me, the super teams. Yeah. And now Brooklyn is another new super team, and a lot of people are saying, well, Brooklyn's going to win it this year. Obviously, LeBron tried everywhere he's gone. He's tried to create a super team. Mm-hmm. Kawhi trying to do that with the Clippers. I do agree with that. I think that's a problem.
I mean, it's a player-driven league, and this is kind of where we're headed, and we've already seen it, right, with Golden State and now the Brooklyn Nets. And I think, looking at the NFL and what the Bucks did this year, you look at that roster and you're like, oh man, Tom Brady and Gronk. Well, yeah, 10 years ago, you're like, oh yeah, shoo-in for the Super Bowl. But the circumstances of this year, coming off of COVID, brand new head coach, Tom Brady's first year, they get Gronk kind of late. They kind of bring in all these players. They don't really have their team set until, they're heading into the playoffs. You can't sit down at the beginning of the season and say, oh yeah, they're going to the Super Bowl. You're picking other teams with other big name players and a couple of them on their roster to do that. I think when you look at the NBA right now, you sit here at the beginning of the season, you go, these are the teams that are going to make it to the playoffs, and these are the teams that are most likely going to get to the championship game, and then this team is probably going to win. And it usually kind of follows suit. I mean, there's not a ton of surprises happening within the NBA right now.
Yeah, going to be very, very interesting to see what happens with regard to the NBA and its popularity. We'll talk a little more NBA later. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us just after 8 o'clock. And I mentioned Spurs trying to win 3 in a row tonight, which would be very, very nice for them. And it's a winnable game in Tampa against the Toronto Raptors. A guy who's been in the news a lot, Shannon, and we've talked about him, Aaron Rodgers. And I'm looking at TMZ, and I haven't clicked on the video. Apparently there's a video.
We've got it.
Oh, you've got that.
Or wait, are we talking about his new interview, or are we talking about him hosting yesterday?
I'm talking about the interview at Disney
Oh, yeah, that's
is it Shailene Woodley?
Shailene Woodley.
And apparently the just reading the text, the interview is described as very mushy. They talk about how much they love each other, and apparently Shailene says, I didn't know this, she and Aaron sing Disney songs to one another frequently. And Aaron said when they planned their Disney experience, I guess they went to Disney in Orlando and probably had the whole place to themselves. Aaron just wanted to be able to go make out all over the park with her.
See, I love me some Disney, but I don't love me some PDA at Disney. It's so weird because Shailene Woodley has been this kind of quiet, hidden actress herself where she just kind of films and then she goes and lives her.
What has she done? What have I seen her in?
She's mostly in like HBO series lately. I think she was also in Divergent, which they tried to make like the new Hunger Games, and it just kind of fizzled out at the box office.
Okay.
But she's never really been in the spotlight outside of her movies, right? She doesn't make a lot of headlines unless she's protested, I think, at Flint, and got arrested there, zip tied, her hands behind her back. But she isn't really does interviews and goes out in public and is, I don't know much about her relationship life before Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, we know Aaron Rodgers' relationship life, but even then, he was never this guy. I mean, it's almost like he's pushing his personality or whatever on top of us at this moment, and it all is coinciding with him hosting Jeopardy for the second week, which we have the clip from yesterday. I think he is getting a lot better. They also slicked his hair back, so he looks a little more put together. He looks a little more comfortable in week 2. And then, of course, because Aaron Rodgers is hosting, they have to ask some sports-related questions or answers, however you want to say it, with Jeopardy. And this is what happened yesterday.
Westerners earned 5 NFL championship trophies. Green Bay Packers. Dennis, go again. I go for 600. They swept over the NBA, winning the title every year from 1959 to 1966. Eric?
We're the Boston Celtics.
Oh, you know that one, huh?
So we're getting more Aaron Rodgers than I think we've ever expected. Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't know if it's like him trying to woo us over.
He's almost trying too hard. Like this video with the new woman, and he's like putting too much of himself in front of us. But you sent me that clip last night, Shannon. And as I said to you, he's better than he was on opening day doing Jeopardy. He seemed stiff. That was a funny sequence, and his timing. He was funny. His expression, his comments. So,
but it also it played well into, obviously he is the Packer these days that you think of and them not knowing. Then because one of my favorite Jeopardy moments of all time was where they had some sport category and they kept running through it. The contestant kept picking from that category, and no one got any of the answers right at all throughout the entire category. So, I think they played that up for Aaron a little bit as far as what questions they were going to use. But yeah, the whole Disney interview, like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need that. No one asked for that.
True. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick time out here since it's 7:20. We do this at 6:20 and 7:20. In fact, we do it 12 times throughout the day. And this contest is a little different. Whereas before we would have you text a keyword. Now we're going to give you a keyword, but you go to the website, wherever you're listening to this radio show this morning. If it's at AM 1300 The Zone, go to that website. If it's a Ticket 760, go to that website. It still is easy. You just pop the keyword into the website, and you got a shot at winning $1,000, and somebody's going to win it. It may as well be you. Here it is.
Right now, here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Summer. That's summer. Enter it now.
Summer would be that keyword. Go to the website and enter it. You mentioned, Shannon, and back to Aaron Rodgers and Shailene Woodley and this video at Disney where it is being characterized as mushy, and Aaron talks about them making out all over the the amusement park, Disney.
Kids.
Now, if you had the whole thing to yourself, and I get it, new love. This is still relatively new, and you're now engaged. But yeah, if it's in public, do I need you to see you two adults swapping spit in front of the roller coaster ride or the Matterhorn?
Pancetta. You shouldn't be doing that. Oh, this is starting to remind me, like, cringe-wise, of Sierra and Russell Westbrook. When Russell Westbrook, he doesn't do them as much, but Mr. Unlimited in those videos.
Yeah.
He announces his extension, like, yo, Seattle, we have a deal. And it's like the middle of the night, and they're always next to each other and on top of each other. And I'm like, nobody asked for this.
Yeah, didn't they? And again, it wasn't graphic, but didn't I see like Russell Westbrook and Sierra like Instagram videos in bed?
That was a yo,
okay.
Seattle, I got a deal. And then also people like Steph Curry and I believe her name is Aisha. Curry?
Aisha, yeah.
It's kind of like that too, where at times it's like we're here for the sport. We're here for the sport. Do that. And that's not to say like we don't want you to be happy. But it does in this digital age where everyone seems to video everything. What happened to home videos, where they stay at home?
Yeah. Well, and in the case of Aisha with Steph Curry, and apparently she's a chef or something.
Something of that.
It just, to me, it just reeks of, it seems like she's gravy training off of Steph. Maybe I'm reading that incorrectly, but when and when I heard at one point, I think Dak Prescott is also dating like an Instagram model or something like that. That I just wonder in those cases how healthy that. And obviously Steph Curry and Aisha have been together a long time, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But when I first heard that Dak Prescott was dating an Instagram model, just how well can that turn out? How stable and how genuine, not to slam all Instagram models, if we've got any listening, forgive me, but if
you can do it,
I guess, but first of all, it's got narcissist written all over it. And do you necessarily want to engage into a long-term relationship with a narcissist? Now, in Dak Prescott's case, maybe not. Maybe he does. I'm a quarterback. I'm gonna have a little fun. Man, she's good looking in a bikini. Let's do our thing and have fun for 6 months or a year or however it lasts. Then we'll both move on. That might be his philosophy. I don't know, but seems odd to me.
With Dak, I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. For one, based on timing, right? They went through all of quarantine together. That is a hard thing to go through.
Okay.
They started dating before he got the mega contract, right? He was still on his rookie deal.
Well, we knew, though. She knew he was going to get paid.
But then the injury happens, and so there's the question of, okay, just how severe is this injury? She was there for the surgery, through all the rehab, and now she's still there when he does ultimately get that contract. So, I'd be more concerned if like she just showed up like last week.
All right, but I would say, being skeptical, where's she gonna go? I mean, you're dating Dak Prescott. He's got some coin. I mean, is she gonna leave him for Jeremy Fouts? Is she gonna leave him for Jeremy Fouts? Not necessarily. And I love Jeremy. And
Jeremy away from her to make sure it doesn't happen.
If she was leaving him for Jeremy Fouts, that would be a good move because Jeremy's a great guy with a kind heart, and I think he'd be a great significant other to somebody. But I would even say to Jeremy, watch out for that Instagram model. She's using you for your radio swag.
And I think, again, with the way we are in the social age, that does happen more often than it should, and so it's only fair that we do question it in some regard. But in the case of Dak, I want to believe it's legit because he is my quarterback, and I want him to be happy, and I don't want him to be heartbroken because that I don't think translates well to the field.
Now, Axel J. Miller is saying this, and Axel's a regular participant viewer from the Denver area. He says DeJounte Murray of the Spurs was dating heavily an Instagram model his first 2 years in the league. They broke up, and she jumped to Deshaun Watson because she's also from if that's true, I don't know. But if that's true, Axel, yeah.
An IG model, because most of them aren't just IG models.
What are they?
Well,
It sounds
so
like
Baker
you're.
Mayfield's now wife was like an IG model, but also I think she was not a nurse, but like in a like maybe worked at a Botox office or something.
Okay.
You know, or something of that nature, but she was also considered an Instagram model.
See, when you said nurse, I was like, oh, first responder,
No,
helping.
no.
And she worked in a
I just know
Botox office.
She wore scrubs and was in
Yeah.
some sort of
Here,
facility
let me
like
inject
that.
some collagen into your
She
face.
was also a brain surgeon on the side. In her free time, she posed in bathing suits at her local beach club.
My God, what a time we live in.
Happy together.
I know exactly. Who am I?
No.
Who am I, bitter radio dude, to judge
Here am
love?
I, just single and totally not mingling, and I'm like, screw all this love.
Well, when you are involved, Shannon, just don't be making out at Disney in front of the kids. That's all I'm.
No, when we go to Disney, I am so hardcore.
There you go.
We're in line. We've got our fast passes. We're there with our little magic wristbands. There is no downtime for anything of that nature. All hands and arms and legs inside the vehicle.
Beautiful. Quick break. Shannon's Salty Shakedown, along with this day in sports history. Sports birthdays coming up. Dave Ayler making the show go. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, on a game day, game night, just after 8 o'clock. We're with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. Shannon, you had a lot of funny moments that last minute. I think there's some promo stuff in there. Like the last 1 to 2 minutes, you were very, very funny. There were some laugh out loud moments. Yeah, can you imagine being a woman who dated Deshaun Watson now? That's got to be. And what if that was your claim to fame? I'm an internet model and I used to date Deshaun Watson. Well, you may not want to put that on a resume. Okay. I think I'm doing coffee again. I think I am. Yeah, so because I'm doing this commercial, I've got no nap coming today, which I need desperately.
Don't you hate that?
Then there's a Spurs game tonight.
I haven't had a nap all this week yet, but today.
Lonzie J. Rodriguez, welcome in. Where'd my coffee cup go? There it is.
You want to like both those broadcasts.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have killed all the coffee. Jason, it is not an Ansira commercial. Same production company. It's apparently for an out-of-town attorney. I play a sportscaster at a stadium with another sportscaster, and apparently we're raving about this attorney. I don't write these commercials. I just read the script.
Jason, that's a great point on the difference between Tom and Dak dating and marrying models. Just the times we're in, I guess, the way people view Instagram. I guess because anybody can get on Instagram and hustle hard enough to gain an audience versus being picked out professionally.
Good morning, Beth Settle. Welcome in. I am guzzling coffee all morning because there's no nap coming. It is not the hammer. Bernard, thank you. Good morning, John Williams from Dallas. Well, and Axel Miller saying she was pretty big before she got to Deshaun Watson and DeJounte Murray. She's got some endorsements. What he's talking about, if you're just joining us, apparently there was an Instagram model who dated DeJounte Murray and then went from DeJounte to Deshaun Watson. Yikes. I wonder if DeJounte will take her back now. Okay. Here we go. John Cougar Mellencamp. I think he was just a cougar when he recorded this song. The lyrics to this song, Dave Ayler, are tremendous. I need a lover who won't drive me crazy. I need a lover who gets the meaning of, hey, hit the highway.
That's why I played it, since we were talking about Shailene and her man.
There you go.
Like out on Space Mountain or whatever they're doing.
Yeah. Come on, Aaron Rodgers. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. We are moments away from her salty shakedown. Let's see what else is coming up. Bill Schoening is certainly coming up. The voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening, on a Spurs game day / game night. Spurs trying to win 3 in a row tonight as they take on the Toronto Raptors in Tampa, Florida. Spurs apparently, and the Raptors, given Canada's rules, easy for me to say, Canada did not want NBA players or Americans coming into the country during COVID, so they can't play the games in Toronto this year. So the Raptors playing their games in Tampa, Florida. So the Spurs took the bus apparently from Orlando, where they played their last game last night, to Tampa, or night before last, to Tampa, where they're going to play tonight. So kind of
Disney bus.
Maybe it was the Disney bus. And I hopefully, in case Aaron Rodgers and Shailene were in it, I hope they disinfected it. Mm-hmm. Just saying. All right. All right, let's do this thing. In a moment, the Salty Shakedown. In a moment, sports birthdays. But first, this day in sports history. April 14th, 1925. The first regular season Chicago Cubs game broadcast on WGN radio in Chicago. Play-by-play by Quinn Ryan that day as the Cubs beat the Pirates 8-2. Of course, Harry Carey would hold that position for decades. In fact, Bill Schoening does a mean Harry Carey impersonation. Maybe we'll ask him to do that coming up on this big day for WGN and Chicago Cubs broadcasts. This day in 1955, 26-year-old catcher outfielder Elston Howard becomes the first African-American to play for the New York Yankees. He hit a single in his first at bat, got an RBI. It was an 8-4 loss to the Boston Red Sox on this day in 1955. On this day in 1964, LA Dodgers future Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Sandy Koufax throws his 9th complete game without allowing a walk. It was a 4-0 opening day shutout of the St. Louis Cardinals. Nice. On this day in 2002, it was the 66th Masters at Augusta. Tiger Woods became the third player to claim back-to-back Masters championships. He finished 3 strokes ahead of Retief Goosen of South Africa. And on this day in 2019, another big day for Tiger Woods. It was the 83rd Masters at Augusta. Tiger wins his 5th Masters title by 1 stroke over Xander Schauffele, Dustin Johnson, and Brooks Koepka. It was Woods' 15th major and his first in 11 years. I didn't know that, Shannon. He had an 11-year drought from winning a major. I thought it was like 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, because he won so many on the front end that you
Wow.
kind of expect that they were spread out throughout his entire career.
That was a very cool moment to see Tiger win that in 2019. And little did we know that might have been the last big moment. Hopefully not. Hopefully Tiger shocks the world and comes back from that accident and does big things. That's sports history. Now some sports birthdays. Born on this day in 1941, that would be April 14th. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio, appropriately, Pete Rose. How cool is that? You're born in Cincinnati. You wind up becoming an incredible player for the Cincinnati Reds. Nice. Happy birthday, Pete Rose. Born on this day in 1966, also in Cincinnati, Ohio. They churn out baseball players. David Justice, who became a big thing with the Atlanta Braves. David Justice, born on this day in 1966. Also born on this day in 1966, but this guy in San Angelo, Texas, Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher, 4-time National League Cy Young Award winner Greg Maddux was born on this day in 1966. And Shannon, finally, born on this day in 1995, a man whose name you brought up earlier in the show. Little did you know, or maybe you did know, it was his birthday. Born in Austin, Texas, on this day in 1995, won Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy winner in 2017, turncoat trader scumbag who went to Oklahoma. You're a Texan dude. You're from Austin. Don't ever go to Oklahoma. 2018 number 1 overall draft pick of the Cleveland Browns, where quarterbacks go to die.
In his defense for going to OU, that's where we send all the trash we don't want.
I love it. Yes. Baker Mayfield, you are trash.
Happy birthday, Maker.
But happy birthday.
I did get to meet him at his camp a few years ago, and he is a good human being.
Was he a nice guy when you met him?
He was. I just didn't, he spoke to us. We took a couple pictures. We interviewed him, and then he turned around, and it was towards the kind of the middle point of the camp where they were kind of gathering all the kiddies to talk to him a little bit, and he showed them how to do a horns down, and they all did it. And I was like, you fools.
Yeah, you lost me at horns down, Baker.
Yeah.
But happy birthday, Baker Mayfield.
I felt dirty after.
Yeah, as you did you go take a shower? Try to get that Baker off your hand? Yeah. All right, cool. Happy birthday, Baker Mayfield. You are trash. But your TV commercials.
His fire. He's listening right now. He's
who
here for the off season.
Yeah, who am I? Colin Cowherd? What is Colin Cowherd's obsession with Baker Mayfield?
No idea.
So weird. All right, those are sports birthdays and sports history. Here it is. You've been waiting for it. Now you've got it. Your daily salty shakedown.
Maybe Colin Cowherd had a really weird dream that felt so real to him that he's got it in his mind that it was real and it involved Baker, and now he just can't let it go. I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see. If Baker ever makes it into the Hall of Fame, that would be like the ultimate. I would hope Colin's still around.
And a lot of times
Get that out.
the motivation behind a few or an obsession like that is an attraction beneath the surface. I think Colin secretly digs Baker. I'm just saying.
Even more of a boss move would be to like for Baker to never reference him and
Yes.
getting into the Hall, because that's ultimately what Colin wants is some recognition. All right. Keeping with the NFL, we talked yesterday about Edelman's announcement that he is retiring after spending so many years with the Patriots, being one of their all-time players. He certainly deserves to be in their Ring of Honor, or however they do it up there in Patriot land. And Gronk in the offseason, he was headed out to LA. TMZ Sports caught up with him, and they asked him about Edelman's retirement announcement, and this is what he had to say. Listen, Gronk is now 31 years old, so it's hard to believe that he has matured, but I think he has. But he's said it before, and he continues to say it. 69 is his favorite number because that's just the kind of guy he is. So whether or not you take that as a sign that, yeah, maybe Edelman will be heading down to Tampa, or you just take it off as Gronk being Gronk and messing with TMZ Sports. I think it is fair, though, to give him some sort of chance to head down to Tampa. I mean, he said announcing his retirement was a pretty big deal. A lot of thought put into it. I know Gronk felt the same way. Gronk did take a year off to kind of recuperate. His body drastically changed, right? He lost all that football weight and was basically just muscle. He did some side business deals before he ended up coming back to the NFL. So who knows? It could happen with Julian Edelman. I wouldn't want him to go to the Bucks. I'm tired of Tom Brady, so I don't know why we would just keep assisting him. And I'm sure Mr. Antonio Brown, who's been taking to social media begging for a re-signed deal with the Bucks, would not like to have, I don't know, a guy like Julian Edelman, who's basically BFFs with the quarterback, to come in and maybe sweep out his spot. But what do you think of Gronk, and what do you take when he says 69%? You believe it, that he believes there could be a chance that not only will he come back to the NFL, but play with his former teammates, or is this just Gronk being Gronk?
My first instinct, it's Gronk being Gronk. I do think it's funny, and Beavis and Butthead would be proud that he has the affinity toward the number 69. But we talk about other quarterbacks in the NFL looking at what Tom Brady did, and some people are now saying Aaron Rodgers feels underappreciated in Green Bay, and he looks at what Tom Brady did. I mean, you think of Julian Edelman looking at what Gronk did. Julian clearly thrived and built a career where, and granted, most people say no, but people are even asking if he had a Hall of Fame career based on his postseason play. Edelman might be thinking, and if he hadn't thought about it, and I'm sure he's thought about it, but if his body felt like he could play pro football again, why go get your head kicked in at New England when you could go down to Tampa, hang out with your buds and your favorite quarterback, and probably get another ring.
Too much for it.
So I would not rule it out. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would not rule it out.
It's a great point that, one more ring, and maybe then we're saying, yeah, you have to put him in to the, a wide receiver with 4 Super Bowl rings. How many other players are there? Gronk was asked during this little TMZ interview through his walk through the LAX airport parking lot if Edelman was a Hall of Famer, and he kind of said he's for sure in the Patriots Hall of Fame, but he didn't actually say gold jacket receiver. So, it's fair.
But he's your teammate.
Today, if you missed that conversation, you can go check it out on the podcast of why he should or should not be in the Hall of Fame. Most people in our poll question voted no. He doesn't deserve it. And
But if I'm in the parking lot and TMZ goes, "Hey Chris, should Shannon Sweeney be in the Radio Hall of Fame?" I go, "Hell yes, she should, because you're my teammate." Well, A, actually you should, unlike Edelman. But B, you're my teammate. So I go, "Oh hell yes." I don't go, "Well, she's on the Chris Duel Show Hall." No, you say yes. You say hell yes, Gronk.
Again, Gronk being Gronk. So we'll again keep an eye on Edelman and what he decides to do post football career, should it actually be over with. All right, today, Chris, we are 100 days away from the start of the quote unquote 2020 Olympics.
Yes.
To be held in Tokyo. However, they are currently experiencing their fourth wave of the coronavirus, surpassing 500,000 cases just this past weekend. Their prime minister says he's wanting 100 million vaccines distributed by the end of June. However, right now they've only distributed 1 million. They have 126 million people in that country. That's less than 1%. And then it's 0.4% of those of the population have received their second dose. So they are pretty far behind as far as getting people vaccinated over there. Apparently, they say it's not something that's really discussed or talked about. Here it's like all you ever see when you turn on the news is where you can get your vaccine and how you sign up and how you register and which one should you get and which one shouldn't you get, or this, that, and the other. And over there, it's just kind of like it's there, but no one really knows about it, where to get it, or when to get it. So that is part of their issue too. But we do have the Olympics coming up. They are saying that they are going to have the athletes tested 72 hours before they travel to Tokyo. They will then be tested upon their arrival and then frequently throughout the games. But is this a continued cause for concern? Because we have seen a couple of events, Australian Open being one of them, where players have had issues with COVID, where they've been taken out of matches and out of the tournaments completely because of positive cases. The NBA has had some up and downs this season. Obviously, not playing in a bubble-like atmosphere has it helped that COVID spread a little bit. But is this a huge concern with the Olympics coming up relatively shortly, 100 days away?
Well, Shannon, I just became more concerned because joining us from Tokyo on Facebook Live, the greatest international Spurs fan, Taro Kotani, just wrote, "I don't know how we are going to host the Olympics. We are way behind on vaccinations. I won't get vaccinated till after the fall, possibly not within 2021. I don't understand. That's frightening. And I know Taro personally. He is a very conscientious man. If he can't get his vaccine because Japan is having a hard time rolling out the vaccine. Yeah, I mean, you've got a guy who lives there and wants to go see Pop coach men's basketball in Tokyo. I think it's a huge concern and a huge red flag and something to keep an eye on. And as a guy who loves Greg Popovich and missed seeing him coach in Tokyo a year ago, if they cancel this one, I think it's done. I think there's no hope. So I think this is a frightening situation.
Yeah, and here in the U.S., Super Bowl and as well as NBA All-Star Weekend was kind of seen as a potential super spreader event, right? You had people from all over the country coming in to go to these events. Even though there were less people there, it was still a concern that they could end up becoming super spreader events. Ultimately, they did not. But here you have a world event where even though you are saying no outside spectators can come in, you still have these players coming in who will ultimately go back to their countries. And, you don't want to just round two, here we go. Everyone's good, so hopefully they do get those vaccines like the prime minister is saying they will, and they make them available to their patrons so we can be as safe as possible. Obviously, COVID will still be around at that point, but just hopefully it is so much dialed back compared to where we were and where we are now. All right, finally and quickly, because I know we're coming up against it here. Wayne Player, the son of Gary Player, who of course was a special tee-off prior to the start of the Masters. His son has now been banned from the Masters and Augusta National after holding up, they're called Encore golf balls. He kept holding the golf ball sleeve behind his dad while he was teeing off, and he was very much positioning them in front of the camera and behind Lee Elder when he was receiving his accolades. He was standing right behind him His brother Mark even took to social media saying, "What an embarrassment! I can't believe they even let him get in there to be there for that moment." And then he goes and does something like this. It's deserved that he's been punished in this way. For those that don't recall, Wayne Player was actually arrested in Georgia about 2 years ago and served 5 days in jail due to a rent fraud charge against him from his time spent there at the 2018 Masters. So he's ultimately never going to be back at Augusta National following this. If you haven't seen it, I'll get it on the Salty Shakedown later so you can see the pictures where he is just blatantly showing off these golf balls. The company even came out with a statement saying, "We did not ask him to do this. We did not push this." Wayne even said, I just thought it'd be cool if people knew what kind of golf ball my dad was playing with." Dude, no one cares.
No, you're a dirtbag, an opportunist, and obviously he had some kind of financial reason to want to do that. So weird.
I think the punishment fits the crime in this
Yeah.
case.
Totally agree.
So one of the weirder stories to come out of the Masters this past weekend.
And how embarrassing for his dad, who's a golf legend.
Like
God.
when your son is making headlines and it's for all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for the guy. There you have it, folks. The Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding.
The 8 o'clock hour. The
Woo.
one, the only, the man with the stash, Bill Schoening, to join us talking Spurs. We'll have to ask him about his take on this NBA playoff expansion.
And his Harry Carey impersonation.
Yes.
So that's coming up. You don't want to miss that.
That is, so I'm going to give him props no matter what.
You don't know.
It could be
Google Harry Carey. He was an iconic.
Like, you did a great job.
You're going to like him now. Now you're going to become obsessed with the late, great Harry Carey after this. Quick break. Yeah, John, sorry about that. You didn't hear the audio. Go to tmz.com or tmzsports.com. We can't replay it for the radio audience. So
it'll be on
apologies.
the Shakedown too when I do the write-up a little later. Yeah. I'll have that video linked.
Yeah, that was my fault. I should have turned my microphone off. Sometimes I forget.
Okay, who am I searching? Harry
Carey.
American actor.
A lot of people did his impression. He was notably usually drunk by the end of Cubs games.
Wait. Oh, well, when I type Harry Carey, it's a silent actor. So I'm like, wait a minute, how does he do an impression?
Yeah, no. Caray. He had the distinctive thick rim glasses. Yeah, no, he was
those are some glasses.
About as iconic a radio guy in a different way from like Vin Scully, where Vin is prim and proper, and Harry was just kind of a Chicago hard drinking, passionate baseball guy. There he is. When you call Bill Schoening, give him the heads up that we're going to ask him to do a little Harry Carey. And if he says why, this is like on this day, Cubs games were first broadcast on WGN. Yeah, John Williams is right. Harry Carey would sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during the seventh inning stretch. And he'd sing it. They'd pipe it into the whole Wrigley Field. So all of Wrigley Field would sing with him.
Chris, I am 28. Let me live.
Yeah, Harry Carey was dead by the time Shannon was born. I do believe.
The Cubs were not relevant until a few years ago, mind you, during my lifetime. Yeah, Axel, that was my argument for Edelman yesterday. I mean, he only had 3 years of 1,000-yard plus seasons. He's tied for like 261st in career touchdowns.
Second only to Jerry Rice in postseason yardage and receptions.
On the surface, he has 3 Super Bowl rings and a Super Bowl MVP, but
postseason games are bigger than regular season games. Jason joining us from Facebook. Excuse me, from YouTube this morning.
Did you see someone was on here via Twitch who wanted to know if we wanted to be famous?
I did not see that.
That we could buy followers and views.
Oh, how nice.
Y'all, I mean, look at us. We're on iHeartRadio. We're halfway there already.
Wow, Scott
Chris
Manziera
only
was
stayed
in
because
here.
he's tired of being recognized in public.
Scott Manziera, if you're still in here, how are you? That's a cool memory. That was a great interview. Axel J. Miller. Edelman is in the Hall of Very Good because of his playoffs. And again, as we discussed, Axel, if Edelman could still play and go to Tampa Bay, part of his motivation might be, because I'm sure he's hearing all of this talk, if I get one more Super Bowl ring and maybe an MVP, maybe I'm in the Hall. The Hall of Very Good. Dave Ayler is calling Bill Schoening, who will join us here in less than 3 minutes. Cool. Thank you. Armando Salinas says Devin Askew going to the Texas Longhorns in basketball. He played one season with the Kentucky Wildcats. He's very good. Good luck to him and Texas. Yeah, Armando, Shannon mentioned earlier in the 6 o'clock hour that also from the transfer portal, and I don't have his name in front of me, a player from Utah that was on the all Pac-12 team. So, and Pac-12 was very, very good this year. So, Texas basketball already looking like Chris Beard is upgrading it in a big, big way, which is cool. There it is. Here we go. Axel, I'll send you the link. I made it. There's a site on Amazon where you can make any shirt. You pick the color, you pick the font, so I actually had it made on Amazon. I think it's like $15.
Now, Chris Duel.
You made it to Wednesday, midpoint of the week. You can feel the weekend almost here on Wednesday. It's all downhill from here. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show, along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. And every Wednesday when we can grab him, which is most darn near every Wednesday, and we're happy to have him, especially on a game day. He is the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. Before that, voice of the Texas Longhorns, singer, songwriter, Renaissance man, world traveler, Bill Schoening. Welcome back in. How you doing, Bill?
I think you've overrated me just a tad, Chris, but I appreciate the kind intro. Thanks very much. Doing well.
I don't think I've overrated you, but you're very humble, but that's cool. Now, you, sir, have traveled to every NBA city. You've also traveled internationally with the Spurs. However, you're doing the games remotely, as everyone is, because of COVID this year. Are you disappointed you are not with the Spurs in a unique NBA city, at least for this year, Tampa, Florida? Do you wish you were in Tampa with the Spurs right now?
When I think of Tampa, I think of spring training for baseball. You know, in fact, when we had Will Hardy, assistant coach, on the other night, as they were getting ready to bus from Orlando to Tampa, a very unique situation there, obviously, because it's only about an hour and a half, I think, between the two towns as far as driving is concerned. He said that he had never been to Tampa. And, of course, you know, being in the NBA most of his professional life, there would be no reason for him to go to Tampa, you know. I have a couple of sisters that live not too far from Tampa, so I've flown them to the Tampa airport. And, you know, my childhood baseball team, the Philadelphia Phillies, and they train in Clearwater, which is not far from Tampa. So I've been to that region. I've done a couple of ball games there. In fact, the University of South Florida is in Tampa. And during my years, the boys and Longhorns, we played a basketball game at the University of South Florida in Tampa. So I've been there, but I would imagine someone that's spent most of their life in the NBA really would have no reason to go. So that's where they are. So I'm not jealous because of all the restrictions that are placed on the travel this year. You know, we've talked about this before, Chris, where the players really are pretty much locked into their rooms or into the hotel. They can't really go out and see a lot of friends or family on the road, go to their favorite restaurant this year. Therefore, I'm not really jealous this season of not being able to travel with them. But you know, hopefully, and I've got my fingers crossed, maybe next year everything will open up back up again and we'll be able to go.
Well, I'm sure the Spurs are probably happy to be leaving Orlando for Tampa, right? Because there may be a little PTSD left over from the bubble last year. Of course, this year we are avoiding the bubble, but there's kind of a change in the playoffs. So we're actually asking our audience today, how should the NBA conduct the playoffs? Most people just want it to be the same it's always been, with a few people saying, I kind of like the play-in tournament. What are your thoughts on this, especially with where the Spurs currently sit as we near the end of the season?
Shannon, if the Spurs finish 9th or 10th, I love the idea of the play-in. I think it's awesome because it gives them the chance to get into the playoffs, where if it was just a regular 8-team format in each conference, then obviously there'd be no chance. But they still have a chance to get into either 6 or 7 and move up. They still have 20 games left. But that said, I understand why the league did it, because they shortened the season to 72 games. I think it's unique. I think it gives a little extra interest to the end of the season in terms of teams trying to scramble and get in. This year the Western Conference is so competitive, like it is every year, but there are a lot of good teams that will be left out, but that's just part of the deal. But I would think that next year they're going to toy with a little bit more. I think they may change things up. I know there has been some talk about just going 1 through 16 and eliminating conferences altogether, not having the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference. But in terms of travel, that will make it difficult if you have to play teams all over the place in the first round of the playoffs. But, I think the league can afford that. But we'll see. I think they're going to take a look at this and come up with maybe a different plan next season and moving forward. But at least for now, especially with the Spurs, not quite securing that top 8 spot, I'm all in favor of them getting a play-in opportunity anyway.
Yeah, Bill, I love the 1 through 16 idea. Just reseed the entire league, East and West, because there were those eras where the Spurs and the Lakers, we kind of knew the Spurs and the Lakers were the best teams in basketball, and they were in the West. It would have been great if we could have had a Spurs-Lakers final back in the Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant era. Then there was that time, about the time when Zaza Pachulia, injured Kawhi Leonard in that series against the Golden State Warriors. I believe that was Western Conference Finals when, it seemed like the best teams were Golden State Warriors and San Antonio Spurs. Whether that balance of power is shifting in the West or in the East, I think that could make for a better NBA Finals if your two teams are in the same conference, but they wind up being the two best teams.
I think there are some owners in favor of that. And, one of the guys that's always outspoken about playoffs and about everything in the NBA really is Mark Cuban. And Mark was one of the owners that actually voted for this play-in tournament, and now he's opposed to it. Of course, Dallas is right in the middle of the whole thing, too. So we'll see what happens with that. But, I would think that they might tweak it a little bit. We'll just have to wait and see. Of course, next year is going to be a completely different season than this year. Hopefully we'll go back to 82 games and get back to, more of a normal, regular NBA campaign next season.
Bill, with the return of Lonnie Walker and the Spurs hoping to go on a 3-game win streak here tonight after facing the Raptors, are they peaking at the right moment with the playoffs coming up so soon?
You say peaking. They just won 2 games in a row. And, of course, they're coming off a 5-game losing streak. But I do think the addition of Lonnie Walker to that second unit has helped out a great deal. He missed quite a bit of time, 9 games with that very sore wrist. And, once he came back in, his athleticism, his speed, his ability to get in the passing lanes on defense, and his ability to hit the open 3. In fact, he hit a couple of threes the other night that really sparked the ball club to a big run early. And his ability to get to the rim on fast break baskets. And when you force turnovers, if you got Lonnie Walker on the fast break, more often than not, you're going to beat the other team down the floor because he's so fast. So I think that he brings a lot of different elements to the table. He's still a young player. He's still improving. He's still learning the game. But I do think that he's got a very bright future, and it's really good to see him back on the floor and providing that spark for the Spurs. Chris and I talked about this the other night on the broadcast, that the Spurs went 0 for 5 during that 5-game losing streak in terms of outscoring the opposing bench. You don't see that happen very often with the Spurs bench getting outscored, but that happened 5 straight games, and not coincidentally, 5 straight losses. In each of the last 2 wins, the Spurs bench has outplayed the opposing bench. So that's a real benchmark, no pun intended, for Spurs success, is getting good production from the bench.
We're talking basketball with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening, on a Spurs game night. Spurs in Tampa tonight to take on the Raptors. That's a 6:30 game start. So pregame with Bill and Spurs Radio game night at 6:00 on 1200 WOAI and the Spurs Radio Network. Bill, if the Spurs can get this win tonight, it would be especially nice because on a 5-game road trip, that would have meant they went 3 out of 5 on the road. They dropped those 2 games in Denver, and the road record continues to look nice. They're 14-9 going in tonight. Of course, the Spurs have had their difficulty when they've been at home. But again, you got to like the success. You've talked about this with us, Bill, and you brought up the dynamic of the players kind of being sequestered in their hotel rooms and not able to go out and see the sights in other cities like they used to be. So it looks like it sure appears that a lot of the energy now is really just channeled into these basketball games, and the Spurs have been really good at showing up on the road.
They've been playing hard. They haven't always played well, but I think that they've been playing hard, trying hard. And one of the things that Jamar said the other night, someone asked him about his game-winning shot with 0.5 of a second left against the Dallas Mavericks, if that could be an impetus to get something going, to get this team in a rhythm. And he compared it to a snowball going down a hill and creating an avalanche. I don't know that we're going to see an avalanche. We might, who knows, in a good way. But I do think that, that shot, getting the Spurs off that 5-game slide is a step in the right direction for sure. And now if they can win tonight and have that 3-game winning streak, as you mentioned, coming back to play Portland home on Friday, they just need a little bit of rhythm, a little momentum. And I think maybe that win over Dallas has given it to them, and hopefully they can keep it up tonight. And again, bench play is going to be a very important matter again this evening.
Now, Bill, as the former play-by-play guy for the University of Texas, I know you're no stranger to football, so I wanted to kind of get your take on this because Washington football announced yesterday that they have signed a man who has never played a down of football. He actually is from Tulane, where he was a star player, but he's been signed as a tight end for the Washington football team. Now, we've seen this happen before. Jimmy Graham, probably one of the bigger names of guys who played in the NCAA and then turned to the NFL. But what about NCAA basketball players that have that sort of size and stature of a tight end makes them so appealing to at least give them that shot for the NFL?
Well, if you can box out for a rebound, maybe you can go up for a ball in the end zone. If you got good hands, if you got good speed, obviously there's a lot of different factors in becoming a tight end. Can you block? How big are you? That's one of my favorite positions in football is the tight end, because I think if you've got a really good tight end, you've got a really good weapon to keep series alive. There's a lot of 3rd and 5s that pop up during the course of a drive. And if you can find a tight end to get you 6-7 yards in a clutch situation, that's huge. And obviously down near the end zone, if you got a guy that's tall and can, box out and get up and go up and get the ball, if you got a quarterback that can throw it up to him, that's a big factor. You mentioned Jimmy Graham. He's one of the best at that.
Yeah, speaking of tight ends, Bill, with this NFL draft coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, there's a big tight end coming out of Florida, Kyle Pitts. He's being compared to, the Travis Kelce's of the world, a throwback comparison to Kellen Winslow Sr. And there's even some talk that Jerry Jones might be infatuated with Kyle Pitts. Obviously, that Cowboys team needs a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. They've got a lot of great skill players, but they don't currently have a big-time tight end. Do you think it would be foolhardy for the Cowboys to trade up from that number 10 position? It's looking like you got to get to 4 or 5 if you wanted Kyle Pitts. Would that be just a ridiculous move if Jerry Jones orchestrates it, or do you think they should focus more on the defense?
Probably the last person in the world for you to ask a question about the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. So, go ahead and get that tight end. I think your problems are on the other side of the ball. I think it would be a very sexy pick, obviously. He's a great player and would probably be a very, very good addition to the offense. But I think that they really need to address their defensive woes, quite frankly.
Bill, we did some discussion about this gentleman named Harry Carey earlier in the show. I'm currently being shamed for not knowing who he was. Apparently a guy who was really great on the mic for the Cubs and had some sensational moments.
Here's the reason I do this. I do this day in sports history, Bill. And on this day in 1925, the first ever Chicago Cubs game was broadcast on WGN radio in Chicago. Now, obviously, in 1925, it wasn't Harry Carey doing the play-by-play. He would show up several years later. But as soon as I saw WGN, I thought of Harry Carey. By the way, the broadcaster was Quinn Ryan doing the play-by-play for those of you scoring at home. And on that day, the Cubs beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 8-2 at Wrigley. But so as soon as I thought Harry Carey, I know that the great Bill Schoening over the years has done an excellent Harry Carey impersonation.
You know, I've been told that my Harry Carey is one of the better ones that is. But I got to tell you, I don't remember this Quinn guy from 1925. But, you know, I did go up to the actor Will Ferrell. And Will, of course, does a good Harry Carey impersonation. Will, at the Staples Center there in Los Angeles. And I said, you know, Will, you've made a heck of a lot more money doing Harry Carey than I get. It's a lot better than yours.
Outstanding. What was Will Ferrell's reaction to your Harry Carey?
He looked at me, looked at my credentials, and said, "Who are you?"
Well, as a person who just found out who Harry Carey was and spent the last break listening to him, your impersonation is 100% spot on.
Shannon, one of the best things is late in the game, you know, Harry enjoyed having a couple of pops during the course of the broadcast, a couple of Budweisers. And sometimes late in the game, his mind would kind of drift a little bit. And one time he was going through the leading pitchers in the league in terms of strikeouts. And Andy Bennis was a pitcher for the San Diego Padres. And he, I think, was second in the league in strikeouts. And Harry was just kind of going through the list. And remember, it was Andy Bennis of San Diego. And on the list said Andy Bennis, SD. And he goes, and second in the league in strikeouts is that Andy Bennis guy from South Dakota. That SD stands for San Diego, Harry, not South Dakota.
That is beautiful. And see, Bill, I was trying to explain to Shannon, how big Harry Carey was as an iconic radio baseball broadcaster. And I said, when you think about the contrast in styles, when we think of iconic baseball broadcasters, Vin Scully, who recently retired from the Dodgers, is certainly probably on top of that pyramid. But when you think about Vin Scully, Bill, just such a statesman for the game of baseball, just the way he would deliver and tell amazing stories. And you compare his style to Harry Carey, who was kind of bombastic and, as you mentioned, enjoyed a number of beers in the broadcast booth, and that became apparent typically by the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. But it just goes to show you just how different broadcasters can approach the game completely differently.
And also maybe the audience in Los Angeles compared to the audience in Chicago, right? I mean,
yeah,
loved by the fans in Chicago. And, of course, he was with the White Sox before he was with the Cubs. And believe it or not, he was with the Cardinals before he was with the two Chicago teams. So he was loved everywhere he went. And I never got a chance to meet Harry, but I've been to his place, his bar on Dearborn Street in Chicago a few times. It's a great bust of Harry Carey, and it's one of those deals where it's a rite of passage. If you go to Harry Carey's bar, you got to get a picture taken with the bust. And then behind the bust is a bunch of pictures with different people there at that spot, having a picture with Harry. And, I mean, Bill Clinton, and the list just goes on. Elton John. And I'm thinking, Elton.
Wow.
About baseball. And Harry Carey's bar. But it's pretty amazing. And you can't not have a good time at Wrigley Field. I've told people this before, that if you go to Wrigley Field, even if you don't like baseball, you'll have a great time. It's just the atmosphere, the ivy on the outfield wall, just the way people are real friendly. And a typical year now. I'm not talking about a pandemic year, of course, but you can go to Wrigley and have a great time, even if you really don't care about baseball.
I'm sure Elton John was just really digging the Harry Carey glasses, because those seemed iconic all on its own. And I'm sure, 50, 100 years from now, people will be doing the Bill Schoening impression and putting on the mustache.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, you'll love this one, Chris. The other day I'm doing a baseball game at St. Ed's. St. Edward's is a small Catholic university in Austin, and they've asked me to do a few baseball games this year. And they were playing Texas A&M International, which is down in Laredo. Anyway, the public address announcer says, And today's game can be caught on the Lone Star Conference Digital Network with the legendary Bill Schoening.
Nice.
And I'm like, and I thought, legendary? Just as he got that out, a lady about 10 feet from me to my left, sitting in a lawn chair, looks over at me. She goes, "Who?" I said, "I have no idea who he is. I have no idea who he's talking about." So I was a legend for about 1 second until this lady 10 feet from me said, "Who? Who's that?"
That is hilarious. And I've seen on your Facebook page, Bill, as you mentioned, when you've got some free time away from a Spurs broadcast, which is rare, especially in the second half of the season, because the back half of the Spurs season is so backloaded. But you've been doing baseball broadcasts. And as Shannon mentions, you did football extensively as voice of the Texas Longhorns. Doing baseball, and I just mentioned Vin Scully, it just seems like compared to what you do doing Spurs broadcasts, basketball is so frenetic and there's so much going on seemingly all the time compared to baseball. And Vin Scully was a master at telling a story during some downtime, while somebody's at bat or, in between innings. How do you like baseball, and what are some of the differences as a broadcaster that you have to be aware of and exploit as a baseball broadcaster?
Two completely different sports, obviously, to describe. And you're right, Chris. Basketball's got such a frenetic pace, such an up-tempo broadcast, where baseball's laid back. You can get some stories in, talk about the weather, talk about the facility that you're at. Now, I've been doing some small college baseball this year just for fun. In fact, yesterday I did a doubleheader, that epic doubleheader between Southwestern University and Hardin-Simmons.
Nice.
But different guys in the roster for Hardin-Simmons are from different small towns in West Texas. And I talking, I've been to Argyle, Texas. I know where that is. Anyway, you can kind of do that on a baseball broadcast and have some fun. Actually, last day I was working for Carl, my son, who owns a company called SHN Sports that live streams small college and high school sports north of Austin in the Georgetown area. So it's just really a lot of fun. And I'm anxious, though, to get back to basketball tonight and get back to what I really do as the Spurs take on the Raptors this evening in Tampa.
And we will be tuned in tonight. Bill Schoening will have the call tonight as the Spurs are in Tampa. Bill, this year, remotely broadcasting from the AT&T Center. And once again, that is a 6:30 game start tonight. That means pregame Spurs Radio game night with Bill will be at 6 o'clock, originating out of Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI in San Antonio and across the Spurs Radio network. Bill, outstanding as always. Love having you on Wednesdays, and we will see you on the radio tonight. Thank you so much.
Okay, and don't forget that during the seventh innings, edition of Take Me Out to a Ball Game, I'm drinking my 30-second Budweiser.
Well, and I got to ask you that. Obviously, it would be impossible to have an adult beverage while doing an NBA game, but have you ever, while doing a baseball broadcast, such as yesterday's doubleheader, in honor of Harry Carey, have you ever opened up an adult beverage maybe in the 8th or the 9th inning?
I have not. No.
All right.
He's winking.
But
You
now,
just can't see it.
post game, after the game, I'll go get a glass of wine. But during the game, I tend not to indulge.
All right. Just had to ask, Bill. Since we're talking Harry Carey. Thanks so much, Bill. Have a great night. We'll hear you on the radio tonight.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Harry Carey. He's now you know the legend of Harry Carey, Shannon.
But I'll only think of him in terms of Bill Schoening.
Yeah. Well, and that's hilarious. One of the things Harry Carey is known for is being just totally drunk out of his mind by the end of a baseball. And we loved him. It was like, oh, cool. Harry's drunk out of his mind. This is great radio.
Now you'd have Gen Z just, how can they allow this to happen?
Yeah, I'm going to tweet that, we need someone who's not drunk doing Cubs games.
They're the fun killers is what that generation is.
Exactly.
They don't like fun.
Except for those.
Hurting you.
Quick break. We will insult lots of other people in the final half hour coming up. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. I'm Chris, with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's the Chris Duel Show. Woo! All right. I'll be back I'll give you some Mike Taylor for your viewing pleasure. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Armando. Wow, Harry Carey's middle name was Christopher. I never knew that. Oh, the third. That's it. Okay. I was reading that incorrectly, John. Wow, so he does Atlanta Braves baseball. That's amazing. El Diablo, Mike Taylor Jr., second base. Yeah, I think there is that Mike Taylor audio. I think that's what you're referring to. All right. All right. There's some spam. Since we're at a break, it's quite easy for me. The video feed went weird. I thought it was easy for me. Let us whoops, comment deleted. Sorry about your spam. Jason, I don't remember that. Jason Paniagua says, was it Lisa Salters that slurred a bit on Monday Night Football and everyone went crazy? I don't remember that. I'll have to. That's why God created YouTube. I'll have to go find it. Here we come. Final segment. Yeah. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. Enhancing your life on a Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. Chris Duel Show along with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave, educate me. Who are we grooving to?
You don't know Metallica?
Is that Metallica?
Yeah.
I know Metallica. I'm not as hardcore. I don't have the t-shirt. I haven't been to the concert like you have. But I didn't. Shannon, did you know immediately that was Metallica?
Of course not.
So you didn't know who Harry Carey was either.
Well, but at least Metallica is a little more contemporary.
This song is from the 90s.
Well,
I know, and I'm 28. Don't think I got to pick the radio station when I was 7?
yeah, she was not in nursery school listening to Metallica and Harry Carey. Exactly. She should have been. I was proud of myself in fourth grade. They did Bring Your Record to School Day.
Oh, yeah,
And
we did that too.
we'll play a song from a so like kids brought in like Winnie the Pooh album and they played some kid brought in Bambi, the soundtrack to Bambi. I was the youngest of kids. Yeah, Fantasia. I brought in the Beatles White album.
Kids in my class. Kids in my class brought in Kiss.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Live 2 was like the big album, then Destroyer, Love Gun era,
Nice.
late 70s.
I think I played Blackbird from the Beatles White Album. I should have played Helter Skelter, since you have the backstory now. But.
And one of my friends, he always brought in either Styx or Rush. And that's how I learned who Styx and Rush were.
Nice.
That was
Whoa.
late 70s, 78, 79.
Very nice. Styx, Come Sail Away was my high school class song in 1978. Kind of mushy. It's
a lot mushy.
Yeah. I lobbied for Brick House by the Commodores, and it was defeated like 538 to 1. I think I was the only one who voted for Brick House. I couldn't.
If you'd used that, Gen Z would have gone after you today for what you did all that time ago.
Yeah.
They like the song.
How about Brick House is demeaning to women, saying she's mighty, just letting it all hang out.
They're trying to cancel Eminem for a line he said in Love the Way You Lie. And it's like one of his better lines that isn't like he has so many that you could go after him for.
Yeah.
But stop it. We literally stan Eminem. He's the one who came up with stan, a phrase that y'all use all the freaking time. Y'all don't even know where it came from and you're trying to cancel. No.
I think it would be a badge of honor for Eminem to be canceled. He'd like, cancel me.
He made a song about them trying to cancel him. Like he is the best at coming back with stuff like that. So like I love it because he just ends up creating better and better music for it. But I think I'm just on one today. Yesterday afternoon, I had a moment. Okay, I walk out in my backyard. I'd been laying down. I didn't really get to take a nap, but I was laying down on my couch, just watching some sports news. My dog had to go out, and she's crazy. She doesn't like to go out by herself. So I walk out there with her, and she goes over to my back fence. She's smelling. I'm like, there's nothing on the ground. And I look up, and there on my back, like cement wall, my backyard, is a flattened, cut in half squirrel skin.
Ooh.
Just there. And again, I live alone, so I'm calling my mom. I'm calling my dad. What do I do with this? Is 311 going to come pick this up? I don't know what to do. This is disgusting. I now feel like I need to go throw up. Why is this happening to me? Why do bad things happen to good people? And I won't tell you what I ended up doing with it because I know I'll get backlash for it. But
I would have it was a wall. I would have pushed it on the other side of the wall.
Exactly what I did. I got my longest broom and I said, "You're someone else's problem."
Yes.
There's a sidewalk on the other side. So
now I saw you. I think you tweeted this out yesterday. It's like, who in God's name would leave a gutted open squirrel carcass?
Like, a cat did it.
I've
never seen a cat.
Well, but see, we used to have a feral cats will want to present you their kill to impress you. We used to have a feral cat that would kill birds, but bring us dying birds that this cat has caught and just maimed and then present the bird on our front. It's like, we don't want the damn birds. Quit killing birds.
I mean,
stop it.
My one cat that I ever owned hated to go outside, so we never had this experience. So if it was someone's cat, I need to speak to that person immediately because there are so many other walls that could have been placed on. And why it came to me, I don't understand. I mean, I was so shooketh. I as you know, ruined my dinner last night.
Well, you don't want to go in the oven. Yeah, you don't want to go have a nice dinner once you saw a squirrel carcass torn open on your fence.
No. So then I had to go buy dinner and I was like, let me try something new and local. Well, that was a bad decision because my meal came with dark chicken meat instead of white chicken meat. And I prefer white chicken meat when I'm eating.
Tough night.
So it's, I don't mean to sound like a millennial, but here I go. And here I am.
And can you imagine?
Going to be on brand.
on top of that, if you would have had a reaction to the COVID vaccine, and life would have just been awful.
My arm, as we know, wasn't working at all yesterday. So my broom was just one-handed sweep to push the carcass off of my wall. I'm back in action though today. It's
Sweet.
not nearly as bad. I got much better sleep last night.
Jason Paniagua writing us from YouTube. We had a cat that brought us a perfectly cut in half rabbit once. See, cats want to impress you. Hey, look what I did to this rabbit. Woo!
At least you can eat a rabbit.
That's true.
Really eat squirrel.
Yeah. Probably somewhere in Kentucky. They just alienated everybody from Kentucky. You didn't know who Harry Carey was. Do you know who Urkel was or is? Steve Urkel.
Yeah, I saw reruns of that.
Okay, so from Family Matters, again, this is Dave Ayler's morning producing show prep. Apparently, Steve Urkel is coming out with his very own line of marijuana. It's the brand, the strain of marijuana is called It's Purple, but he spells it without the E on purple. So it's PURPL. So there you have, if you can smoke your own Steve Urkel brand, It's Purple marijuana.
I wonder with the purple thing if he'll do like purple scissor, as the kids say.
He might.
Just to go, keep it all together. That's interesting. I didn't know he was into that kind of thing.
See,
but also I haven't really heard about him or from him since he was Urkel. So
Yeah, this is the first time he's
back in the spotlight.
And apparently 710 Labs. I guess that's it said he's launching this in connection with 710 Labs. The way I read it was 710 labs are involved. No, that's a company, 710 Labs. So, but I think of other people who are known for weed, obviously Willie Nelson, maybe Matthew McConaughey. All right. Ricky Williams. I would smoke some Ricky Williams weed if it were legal.
Ricky Williams once handed me his CBD oil that he had just put out, and I got it and researched it beforehand, and I ended up never using it because the bottle was $85 for this little tiny bottle of CBD oil.
Ooh.
I can't use this because if I like it, if I enjoy it and I want to use it more, then I'm out $85 every time.
But
you spending that kind of coin.
You could have found out though. You could have resisted the urge if you really liked it to ever buy it again.
I know, but then I like things to be the same. I like consistency, and so it would be hard to go elsewhere when I've had the Ricky Williams.
Yeah, true.
So I never used it.
Now, staying on this theme, because you talked about your dog going out into the backyard, and that's where you discovered the squirrel. There is now Busch Beer has announced they are searching for a dog to be the official taste tester, and they'll pay $20,000 for this job for the dog to be the taste tester of a new dog beer they are rolling out, a non-alcoholic beer for dogs. Who the hell? I guess if you're a party person and you're going to drink beer, you would buy beer for your dog, dog beer.
She just had a huge allergic reaction to vaccines a couple weeks ago. So I don't know that I like calling it a taste test for a product that typically isn't made for dogs. I don't know that I would sign her up for that.
And apparently you could tweet a photo of your dog before the 28th of this month to Anheuser-Busch, and they are going to select a dog beer tester for $20,000 in pay for you and your dog.
Straight cash on me?
Woo, I think so. Finally, just weird stories that Dave gave me. So I just, to enlighten you, we now have a toilet paper surplus in America because all of us hoarded toilet paper. This is now affecting the industry because they can't sell toilet paper now because all of us have toilet paper. All of us have too much toilet paper.
I moved right when this started, and in preparation for my move, I was like, well, I'm not gonna go buy more toilet paper because then that'll just have to be something else that I move. So I'll wait till I go do my first grocery run at my new place, and then the pancetta hit and I didn't have any toilet paper, and I went from a 1-bathroom house to a 3-bathroom house. So my mom and I were grocery shopping, and they just happened to bring out a pallet of
Nice.
toilet paper. She needed toilet paper. I needed toilet paper. We grabbed 2, and then for the rest of the shopping trip, people were like, "See, they're the problem. They're the reason why no one has toilet paper." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. 2 different households, completely different situations."
Did you see anybody giving you the look?
Oh yeah, I mean, someone literally from the store as we were going to check out was like, "Uh-oh, no one was watching." Like they said
Wow.
that.
Wow.
First of all, I went first, and then she went, so we wouldn't be judged immediately. But yes, and these are 2 separate transactions.
Well, and I am guilty as I was during the pandemic. I was unsuccessful at hoarding toilet paper a lot because I would go look at HEB and they would be out like time after time. But one of my fears in life. Some people are afraid of spiders. Some people are afraid of snakes. I am afraid of running out of toilet paper. That's one thing I must have as a human being living in Western culture. I must have toilet paper.
Specifically, like 2-ply.
Well, just any. But I mean, ideally, yes, comfortable toilet paper.
That
But
was also the thing of when you would find toilet paper, it would be sandpaper.
yeah,
Or it would be the most premium toilet paper you've ever seen that costs an arm and a leg. And it's like, is it worth it?
yes, it is.
Paper towel.
Yes, it is. Just get it. So luckily, I never ran out. I never had to go to old T-shirts or newspaper, or thank goodness.
I still haven't seen any Lysol.
Yeah, that's still hard to
was
come by.
another thing. I was like, I want to kind of deep clean my house that I just moved into, and I don't have any Lysol. And I can't
Yikes.
get any Lysol.
And now
Didn't
they're
I know
dead
I was
squirrels.
moving? Could they not have held off another couple weeks?
I know.
Always make it about me, you guys.
Well, as you should. As you should. How about that poll question? Do you have that in front of you, Shannon, as we wrap up a Wednesday morning here?
Yeah. So in our question, how should the NBA conduct the playoffs? Now 58% people saying keep it the same, with more votes coming in at 41% for a play-in tournament, which we're experiencing this year.
And nobody voted for other. Other is you tweet us what your solution is. Nothing.
I wonder if that's because someone really doesn't have nothing, or they don't want to be ridiculed for saying their true feelings.
Exactly, because
Out there.
we would read your tweet and we would mock you and ridicule you, but in a constructive way, we would do that. All right.
We're your sports therapists,
We are.
good or bad.
Well, Shannon, I hope your day and your afternoon and your backyard experience is better today than it was yesterday.
I need to call my pest guy. That's a whole other issue I'm having.
Ugh.
I feel like now people think I'm dirty. I'm not dirty.
No, but
Just,
you need
I'm
pest
28.
control. Is it a roach thing? Why do you need a
no,
discriminator?
some really, really teeny tiny bugs were crawling around in my master bathtub last night, and then I noticed them in my sink too, and that's the only place they are, and they were there again this morning even when I washed them all down, so I need to call some pest people.
All right. I hope that all works out. You'll get it. You'll get it. Dave Ayler, thank you, sir. You rock.
Thank you. Ready to do it again tomorrow.
Let's do this again tomorrow. Why the heck not? Thanks to the great Bill Schoening. He'll have the broadcast tonight, Spurs against the Raptors. Shannon, have a wonderful Wednesday.
You as well, sir.
All right. Adios, everybody.